Suffering, pain's purpose to supersize your business, annual challenge day 222. Oh, let's talk about this today. And I say, oh, because we're going to talk about the O in the SOAP framework. And I don't want to forget. So this year, a couple of times I've forgotten to do the SOAP framework on the right days. I think there was a gap of 4 days one time. I can't remember what month it was, but I'm like, wow, I've never done that before. So I remind myself right in the beginning, we're going to talk about the SOAP framework. But first and foremost, let's talk about suffering for a couple of minutes. Suffering, to me, is a choice. Ouch, right? You mean I'm suffering and I'm in pain, but I'm choosing it? Maybe. Maybe it's your subconscious serving up something you need to know about that you're ignoring or stuffing down so hard that you're not paying attention to it. I have found that if I look at the pain or instead of suffering, it reduces the suffering. If I make a conscious choice about the pain, or if I choose to experience it differently than, oh my God, I've got a migraine, I will get different results. But if I have a migraine, guess what? That is my body signaling to me that there's something wrong and I need to pay attention. It's a warning sign. It's like big red flashing lights in road construction. Don't go in this lane. This lane is shut. And so today I want to invite you, if you have any pain, physical pain or not. Now, I'm a chronic pain sufferer, and I don't suffer because chronic pain isn't who I am. It's just a little teeny component of what I experience in life and what I get to work through every single day. Now, I say I get to work through it because I approach it with a much better attitude than when I think, oh, woe is me, poor me, victim, suffering, pain, etc. And I can tell a whole bunch of stories about pain and dealing with chronic pain and how I deal with it on a daily basis. But that's not what today is all about. Today is about choosing and deciding not to be a victim, not to suffer, not to deal with problems endlessly, but to solve them, to be a problem solver. And I think one of the best stories and examples that we can all learn from, because maybe you really don't have much pain. Maybe I've never broken a bone, but I've definitely had intense chronic pain before. And I had a gigantic kidney stone and almost lost my left kidney when I was working in corporate America. I remember laying on the cold cement floor of my office, writhing in pain. And then I finally realized I got to go home. And then I put up with it for like another 10 hours at home before I finally phoned a friend and said, I need you to take me to the hospital. I don't know what's wrong with me, but there's an acute pain and something wrong with me. Picked me up, took me to the hospital, and lo and behold, I spent all of Labor Day weekend in the hospital waiting for an anesthesiologist so that they could operate on my kidney. Lucky for me, they saved my kidney. So huge lessons learned there. I learned that excruciating pain is not normal, and that if you need help, get help with it, which was a huge lesson for me. And you'd think at that point I would have gotten better at asking for help, but I didn't. It took another few decades, and I still struggle with asking for help. Why do I struggle with it? Because I just said I struggle with it. So that is my identity. I might have to work on that one today. All right. So suffering doesn't have to be wasted. Pain should never be wasted. Number one, it's a signal we need to pay attention to. Number two, there's a lesson to be learned there. There's something that the universe or the world or we are trying to show ourselves, and we need to see it. And as soon as we see it, guess what? The pain dissipates. I can't explain it. I don't understand it at all, but I will tell you that that's how it works in my life. And it probably works that way for everybody too. I don't know. Not a specialist in this kind of thing. So today, what are we going to do as an action item? I guess my main thing on this is don't ask, why is this happening to me? Because you probably don't know. Ask, what can I learn from this so it'll stop happening to me? If you're seeing patterns in your behavior and in your career and in your life, guess what? The patterns are there to show you something. As soon as you notice and recognize the pattern, it will stop. I'll give you a quick business example. I used to have like a 3-year attention span. In corporate America, I would go into a company, I'd do all the things I was going to do and could do to maximize that division or department or role that I was in. And then I got bored and I wanted to move on. And I realized by about my 3rd job in corporate America that was my pattern. Go in, fix things, because I was a fixer. That was my role in corporate. And once they're fixed and systematized and automated, you can move on to another opportunity. And that was just me. But when I saw that pattern, By the time I got to my 4th job in corporate America, I consciously chose to break that pattern. And I actually stayed there 5+ years because I love the company, I love the people, etc. So once we see patterns, all of a sudden we have the ability to break them. So let's talk about the O in the SOAP framework. Let's do our annual challenge, daily challenge, spiritual activity first. Reflect on a business failure that you've had. And I've had a whole lot of those, right? If you're in business for a long time and have been for a long time, and you tell me you've never had a failure, and I don't look at them as failures. I don't even think of them ever as failures. They were just learning opportunities or lessons learned or stepping stones to the next thing. Did I ever get fired from a job? Yes. Yes, I did. Did I survive and recover? Absolutely. Did I get a better job the next time in corporate America? Every single time, hands down. So, and that happened whether I chose to leave or whether I was asked to please leave. Because guess what? That happens sometimes. Sometimes we're not a fit with the culture. Sometimes a different culture is all we need to thrive. All right, now let's look at the O in the SOAP framework. The O in the SOAP framework stands for options. What are my options to start to fill the gap between where I am and where I want to be? Yesterday, we came up with our S in the SOAP framework, our spiritual situation or our spiritual story. And yours might be, we've never even considered that our business is a spiritual entity. We've never even thought of it that way. We're starting at nothing, ground zero. Well, that makes it pretty easy to improve and get to where you want to go, but you have to identify where do you want to go. How do you want the spiritual component of your business to look? How do you want it to impact your culture? You have to ask all those questions or make up those questions and answer them for yourselves. But the way we get from where we are to where we want to be, and I picked adding a spiritual component or considering the spiritual component of my Supersize Your Business community. Because to be honest, I haven't done it for that. I've done it for my other businesses and I've done it for myself, but I've never done it for the Supersize Business community. So that's what I'll be doing today. What are my 10 ways that I can start filling the gap between never considered this to what do I want it to look like? And that's our assignment for today. So we're going to share a painful story that we were suffering through with respect to our business. And I shared one in Supersize You that was from 2nd grade that I never even told my parents about. So that was kind of a fun one. So what is a painful business story you can share or a lesson learned? And did you learn a lesson? Ask yourself as you're thinking about that painful thing, is it a scar that you've healed and you learned the lesson from? Or is it a wound that's still kind of festering and open because you haven't resolved it or looked at it and said, well, what did I learn from that? I think one of my biggest personal experiences was my sudden cardiac arrest in one of my businesses, and that I'm lucky enough to be here today. But that was a turning point for me. I changed every area and aspect of my life after that, and it was well overdue. I've talked about that story before. If you want to know more, just ask. If I can help you with either of these action items today in any way, reach out and ask. Let's have an awesome day, and I'll of course be with you tomorrow.